because we went out. I went out last year when we got him. We were like, what does he live in? So I got like 10 cinder blocks, dug up 3-foot hole in the ground, about, it's like a 3x3 little footprint, and I put the cinder blocks in there and made them like a burrow, so it's cool. And so I'm in the process of like rehabilitating it and like remodeling it, because it got a little crushed over the winter. So I'm just kind of like fixing it, and like now he's up. So I thought I had another couple of days, so I've been like fixing a burrow for a wild tortoise that I'm taking care of. And he's just eating like a buffoon. He's eating like people eat at buffets out here.
Wow. It's crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, he's finally up.
I can't. With you and this turtle, I got a turtle story for you, Mark. I can be of some help for you. When I was in the 6th or 7th grade, my best friend Gabby, I wish she was on this live to hear this story. We captured a turtle. I don't know what kind it was. All I know was like this big. We named him Danny.
This is in Colorado?
This is in Colorado. We named him Danny, and we put him in a huge fish tank with sticks and food and lettuce and whatever. And one day after school, we came home, and I was always the smartest one of us. Gabby, why don't we bring Danny out of the cage and put him in the front yard? Let's walk to Dairy Queen. And when we come back, he'll still be in the same spot or close to it because he's a turtle. How far can he go?
Oh, you'd be surprised.
We went to Dairy Queen. Danny was gone. We searched for hours. The turtle was gone. We never saw him again.
Were you near water?
No.
No. So he was like a frolicking forest type turtle.
Yeah. I don't know if he was I don't know what kind of turtle. It was big.
You know what I learned? Because I know we're live now and we're talking about like, tortoises and turtles, but that's what I've been doing all morning, is caring for a wild Nevada desert tortoise that I adopted and fostered. Not me, actually. My lovely partner, Christina, called me one day. Hey, I'm in possession of a wild desert tortoise that we have to foster. I said, okay, foster, a couple weeks, month. I've had him for a year and a half.
He's going to be fostering you when you get old.
Yeah, and like, you don't know how old they are.
All of us. Are you kidding?
Well, I have two. I have Sherman, the big one that I fostered. He's about this big. And then I have a small little Russian tortoise that I got for Chrissy for, I think it was Christmas like 3 years ago. And she just climbs. If you put anything near, like in her habitat, it's like a big fish tank, right? For like, a Russian, desert tortoise or a Russian tortoise. She tries to climb out of the enclosure. So I can't have any type of vegetation or ladders or anything near the top of because we found her teetering one day on the top, and I was like,
the teetering turtle.
Yeah, and you research. Oh yeah, they like to climb. Okay, so now I got to worry about this friggin' Russian tortoise climbing out of the habitat.
So the dog doesn't see it as a chew toy?
The dog could care less.
Oh, okay.
He could care less,
At
first.
Hey everyone. Welcome all. No one's on yet anyways, whatever.
How many people are joining us? Can you see?
I can see. No one's on yet, but they will be. Let me see.
They will be once they figure
They sure will be once we get to going. And as I said, I am not responsible for what comes out of my mouth.
That's okay.
For the next hour, y'all. Happy Friday, everyone.
They're trying to figure out this whole thing called the internet.
Oh, God. Yeah, someone's on.
What's this thing called the internet?
Hey, everyone. Oh, man. Boy, we have some exciting things. Hey! exciting things to talk about today. And I have some awesome news. We have awesome news. Guys, maybe we should wait for a couple more people. I have exciting.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
What are you excited
What are we excited for, boys? We are opening our headquarters of Tiffany Colson Studios in London.
for? What?
Yay!
Londonderry?
London, not Londonderry, New Hampshire. London, England.
Foggy old London? Wow.
We are so happy and we are so excited. I'm that awesome that we have expanded to London and it's being built right now as we speak from the ground up.
Excellent.
Wow.
Brick and mortar.
Pinky up. And I am out of here, y'all.
Bye.
Bye, Felicia.
You going to London?
Yes. Who's coming with me?
I'll go to London.
Great. Let's go. April Fools. Hey, you know what? Actually, I'll speak that into existence. Many of you guys don't know that I grew up in Belgium, so it'd be really nice to go back.
Oh, wow.
Especially with the recent events and the buffoonery that's been going on in the world and in the industry. We won't talk about that, though.
And you know what a lot of people don't realize is that French food and French, cuisine came from Belgium.
Did it really?
Yeah, that's the origin. Like everyone's like, oh, the food in France is great, but go to Belgium.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Belgium. I love Belgium. I moved out here when I was in the 3rd grade.
Your dad was stationed in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Air Force.
Excellent.
Shout out to you, Daddy-O. Thank you for your services. And
this is, and you're, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your service. I am humbled. I've had that conversation with
you. Raising me.
Someday I will get on the phone with your dad and pick his brain. But that was in the mid 80s.
That was in the 90s.
Okay, so right after the Cold War. So there was some heat. There was, when there was some stuff happening over there.
So we moved back to the U.S. in 96.
Okay. And how old were you?
How old was I?
When you moved back?
Well, that's
9.
9?
No, 10.
You were born in 86?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it because I was the weird kid culturally coming back a little bit.
You still are.
Nothing ever changed. Nothing ever changed.
Please don't change.
It's funny because I was just talking to Mila today about she's like, oh my God, Mom, no, I don't want people to see me. She's so shy. And I was the kid who I literally had glitter on my forehead at her age. I used to, every morning I'd wake up, I'd put glitter on my forehead, put it on my eyes, lip gloss, little Tiffany, 6th grade, go to school, didn't care what people thought. My French teacher asked me, huh?
I was going to say, what's ironic about that is nowadays, everyone, wants to be able to be who they are and all this stuff, right? Whatever your gender and whatever your, fashion sense or whatever. Everyone, there's, especially parents are saying, we want our kids to be more open about who they are. But the kids themselves are more brutal than they've ever been with bullying, making.
Oh yeah.
They're the worst. So it's ridiculous. It's parents need to get with their kids first before they start trying to change everybody in society to try to be more accepting, because their kids are brutal. The way they judge kids and pick on kids. I mean, it's really ridiculous. And it's these two different things at the same time that just don't fit.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back. Was it like that when we were kids?
No, I think you know what? I mean, there was a degree of I think if you were blatantly and like openly like different, then you would get like it's where we came from, you would get, beat up or shunned from the society that we grew up in. But if you kind of flew under the radar and was like quiet and stuff, people generally would leave you alone. But these days, the kids want to know who you are and what you do and what you stand for, and then they'll judge you. Like they
Yeah.
want you to explain yourself first, and then they're gonna be like they brutalize you. And I see it all the time, and it's ridiculous because they want everyone to be open and accepting, but they're not. It's like practice what you preach.
Yeah.
You know what I
Definitely.
mean? And
Here
it's
we
like
go, Tiff.
if your kid wants to be a certain way, that's fine.
Here
Let
we
another
go,
kid be a
Tiff.
different, huh? What?
Here we go. It's begun. I need, in this in this catacomb of synthesizers, nothing's on right now, unfortunately, and I will turn stuff on and do some like whatever at some point. But like, I need one of those. I need one of those, those air horn sirens. Here he goes. I think there's so many. Greg is definitely right. I try to keep my mouth shut because I know, you know what I mean? I know how sensitive people are about this type of subject. And
Yes.
there's so many things play into it, what Greg's talking about. It's where you live,
Yes.
unfortunately now, I mean, I don't ever remember growing up like as a kid, as a teenager with such wealth inequality. Everyone was pretty like, yeah, there were people who were famous and people who were heads of corporations who had a lot of money, but I think people are a product of their surroundings. You know what I mean? You see all these ignorant parents out there. I hate to say it. I mean, and be so blunt, but that's where I think it stems
Of course.
Yeah,
from.
sure.
Of course
You
it
know what I
does.
mean? And
They're
it's
the
like,
ones stirring it up. You know what I mean? The
yeah, I
parents.
don't expect any child or anyone under the age of like, I mean, what do they say, Tiffany? I mean, you're a parent, I'm a parent.
My
For
generation is embarrassment. Okay. I don't claim to be a part of it.
Well,
Serious.
all the 21, 22, 24 year
Yes.
olds are from our generation, Generation X.
Yeah.
And considering how we were raised, I look at some of that age group and the lack of respect and stuff that I just see in a supermarket or just in society. I try to get in and get out and get back home into my lair to
Yeah.
create music and to teach TCS students and be peaceful, because as soon as I step outside into the world, it can be a very daunting type of situation. And, it is in Boston, it is in New York, it is in LA, it is in London, it's in Brussels. Wherever you go, there's a certain level of that. And you try to minimize it wherever you actually like plant a flag. So I don't want to get into Vegas and how I feel about the society out here. People think, oh, I go to Vegas and it's entertainment capital of the world. Yeah, it is, but I'm so used to like Massachusetts and New England, Philly, New York, Northeast. That's different out here, and I see it living in, what is it, Greg? It's the biggest school district in the country.
Yeah, Clark County school system is the biggest.
And like no music education, no arts. I mean, yeah, you'll have drama and things like that because I think that the school district feels that it has to do that. Like, we have to have a drama, a department, teach kids about theater and acting, and like the music. It's like, yeah, whatever. We need new football jackets for the football team.
Yeah, or
Yes.
what they do out here is that they say, "Well, go to Las Vegas Academy, which is like an art school." So they shuffle all the artistic kids in that direction. Like you can go to like a high school of arts, and study music and dance or whatever. But with those schools, they're very I think they're caught in the dark ages. Like they're I have a few bass students that applied and went to LVA, and then they made them play upright bass. There's like no electric bass studies. Like, oh, you want to play jazz, you have to play stand up bass, upright bass. And it's like, Like, what are you setting these kids up for in the future? Like, you're gonna get a gig playing upright bass? Where and
Yeah,
how?
right.
And how? And I understand like the mechanics and all that, like the traditions and stuff like that. I can respect that. But practicality wise, I mean, when we were kids, if you were interested in music, they just let you go, and do whatever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they didn't criticize the kind of instrument you had, or if Mark played on a synthesizer and JV jazz band, they never criticized him for it. They never said, "Oh, you have to play a Rhodes or a piano."
Well, but in that particular situation, I remember there being like a piano player. So I
Right.
was like, okay, I'm gonna play strings and I'm gonna play like, you know what I mean, relative to and that started my fascination with being like in that role because a synthesizer is a completely different instrument than like a harpsichord or a piano or whatever it is. It's a completely different animal. And who was it? Carl Larerio? Mr. Larerio?
Yeah.
Dr. Larerio?
No,
Um,
no, not Doctor.
Well,
It was
he was the band leader,
yeah. He was
and
just
he,
Carl. He was
you
just
know,
Carl
and he wrote
Larerio.
the parts. He wrote the parts accordingly to what I had to play.
Right. And
Suncat, whatever
if
the
he
song was.
right, that was it. Suncat. And if he brought in like the elder music department people, they were very helpful and nurturing. Like they would take what it was
Yeah,
that you were bringing to the table, and they would try to further development without changing you. You know what I mean?
right.
So you could be whatever you want to be. Now it seems like, okay, you want to be a guitar player, well, you have to play classical. You have to play Bach and a nylon string and classical. Like forget about Led Zeppelin, forget about this stuff. Like you got to go back. And I think that that's like it kind of messes, especially when kids are, they're young. It messes with their minds. Like it's like, but I really want to play rock music. Well, you got to play this first. Like you got to prove that you can play this, and then, do your rock stuff. And that's why a lot of kids go to like School of Rock or whatever, because that's what they really want to play. And their parents are putting them into this formal school so that they can get a formal education. But if your heart's not in it, it's a waste of time. Like
Yeah.
it's just like you just go through the motions. I mean, I would have loved to gone to like a arts high school. I think I would have done a lot better. Um, but the other thing too is that if you're going to like a regular high school, public school, and they don't really have a music program or they don't really have something to help you, back in the day, you would search for it on your own. You would try to find it. Instead of having people deliver it to you, you would be like, okay, where do let me check this out, or let me check that out, or let me talk to this person. And this is pre-internet, right? Um, Boston at that time, when Mark and I were like young in our early teens, was like a haven for like the best talent on the planet. We're all there. And it was a bubbling scene, and you could literally just go out into Cambridge and fall into a great concert or something, or like legendary people playing. And, nowadays it's like I feel like we took it for granted because I just thought that that's the way it was. You would have,
It's like talking about the cotton gin.
yeah, it is.
It's so foreign in terms of
It
that
is.
type of like, not
Well,
necessarily
everyone
being
now
in the
you have to
dark, but
be
like the search. You know what I mean? To like I think we talked a little bit about this the last time. Was like it's so easy now to just go and look and go on YouTube or go on Snapchat, Instagram, and see other people playing, and have more of a broad reach and just to see what other artists
and
and
they lay it out for you kind of like
yeah,
they'll explain it to you and you'll be like, oh, that's what it is.
yeah.
Where you, Mark, I remember when you were getting into like MIDI and programming and stuff like that, like there was no like handbook. You had to like read articles in Keyboard Player magazine or see like what the people were saying and then try to figure out, oh, okay, this is what they're doing to get it on a computer.
Yeah, there was like
You know,
electronic musician and like keyboard magazine. Those were the two mediums that you could go and learn about what was going on because that stuff you're talking the early 80s is when the development of that really started to expand and really be built. I mean, now it's been built, it's been perfected, everything's
Right.
going USB and other ways to run MIDI, but at that time it was like what you could do what?
Right.
And it was like there wasn't a lot of places where you could go, certainly not on like you know, like TV. No one was talking about it on TV. You had to research it through
Yeah, and
books or
you
whatever.
could even go to the local music store and sample what it was that they were playing, because it was all like exclusive stuff that just wasn't mass produced, you know, things like a Fairlight or whatever,
Yeah.
certain keyboards, right? Like you couldn't find those anywhere. So, I mean, what it gets to is that you had to use your imagination. You had to really like dig deep inside your own brain and try to figure it out on how you thought it would work, and try to put the pieces together rather than someone saying, "Oh, here it is. Here's a
Right.
5 video of everything." And then you're like, "Oh, really? That's what it is? Okay." When before it would maybe have taken you a year or 2 years to get that same
Yeah.
amount of information. And on that search, you learn stuff, you know, you educate yourself and you
Yeah.
discover, and that's just kind of gone now.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about MIDI in the recording class, explaining how it works and like the protocol, and even if they're not using it, they're using it to some level within the
Right.
software, how they're like, you know, manipulating sounds, and you know, there's some people that want to dive in more to it and explore it deeper, and there are other people I just want to know why this is here. Like, what's this port on the back of this, like, you know, keyboard that I bought? I said, well, that's a MIDI port. Well, what does it do? I said, well, it's doing the same thing that the USB port's doing. It's just a different type of connectivity to your, you know, laptop or whatever it is that you're using. So, but it was hard. It was still being invented when I was young, 10, like 11 years old. It was when it really came out, you know. And now it's just like it's used in every single aspect. You know, I ran MIDI when I filled in for my friend for Share. He had set up this system of changing like all the different musicians' sounds within the software. So when like the playback system was running to provide tambourines and things like that, like more of like a percussion, some strings were on there, some beautifully recorded strings. When the song changed, it changed the guitar player's sounds because he might have been downstage with her. So
Wow.
I was always fascinated by the live application of MIDI and how you could use it for things like that to change your sounds, but just by hitting a foot switch, you got 5 keyboards on stage or even 2, it will change everything that you needed changed. And I used to do it with Bert Taylor when we did weddings. I used to change sounds and, you know, and that was what, the 90s?
Mid 90s.
Yeah, mid 90s.
Mid 90s. And you know what? It's like it to have your brain sort of start to think, well, if I can change sounds on my keyboard, maybe I can change patches on a pedal board for guitar, or I can change
Exactly.
right. Your brain starts to say, oh, okay. And that's when you get into something and try to figure out, oh, how can I use this for my purposes, you know?
Right.
But now it seems like no one wants to really dig deep. They want the easy answer. They
Well,
want,
you know what? Yes and no, because, you know, Tiffany, you know, I'm working with this lovely artist, Shannon Sharvana, and she is one of those people who has that, she wants to know, you know what I mean? You
right.
see it in her.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about a lot of like Tiffany students is that they, if not all of them, are there for a reason. They want to explore something deeper. They may not want to get into it on the level of being an expert or like a Bill Evans, you know, but like explaining to them the Bill Evans form of voice leading and how to not have to jump around because you only know chords and root position. I've kind of dived into that with Shannon, and she's you know, she got it right away. When you play a root position chord and then you add a seventh, how many different versions of that chord you can play just by inverting it in the root diatonic types of notes. And like you saw the light bulb go off. So now in her writing, she's starting to incorporate it. Even if she doesn't know what she's doing, she knows just from what she's been doing with me. And we've only really tapped on this maybe the last 2 or 3 weeks, is that she start like that wheel went off where she's like, well, if I just move my hand from C major, if I just move my top 2 fingers, now I'm in F. F major is right there, and then G. So she sees how close everything is because she's learning all her major scales. Does she have to? She doesn't have to, but she's doing it. Like she's, for what she wants to do and achieve. Does she need to know how to? No, but she's learning it, and it's furthering. So many other things are getting stronger just through osmosis. And
Exactly.
My point is this. I agree with that because I had Shannon Wednesday, and she's doing the performance class, and she did exactly what I had suggested, like you're saying, and put it into practice. But
yeah,
my point is that the artists like Shannon or the students like Shannon are the exception, not the rule. There's not an overall. I'm serious. It's
Yeah.
just most people want the easy answer.
Yes.
And I can understand that because sometimes I want the easy answer too.
yeah, yeah, of course.
But a
Which
majority of
brings us
people,
to a lot of the people who are coming to these classes.
well, I mean, if you're taking a class, if I'm going to take rocket science, but I can't do math, or I don't understand the concept of elements or whatever, chemistry, and then why would I want to take rocket science? You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of need to sort of figure out what is built into it. And that's a lot of these courses. People show up and they're like, well, I don't play any instruments,
Exactly.
but I want to learn how to write a song. And it's like, well, it's hard to teach you how to swim if you've never been in the water type of deal. Like you have to kind of get yourself familiar with what it is, because it's not like, okay, you put this part to this part and then you have a song. There's a process, and there's all these variables of who you are, what you like. I mean, it basically came down to this person wanted to write something that was similar, like a blues, because the artist that she was listening to, it was basically a blues song done in a modern way. So I said, well, I mean, that's where you start then. You start with the blues, and I'm sure whoever the artist was, I think it was Kelly Price was the artist. She's gone through the whole blues, Etta James and Nina Simone and Howlin' Wolf. And I mean, you take all the blues artists and the sort of like the way it sort of expanded and changed into modern times, it's still very useful. But if you understand what blues is and that music and that style, then you can sort of like integrate it into what you want to do, because somehow you're kind of gravitating towards that, or it's resonating with you. But it's hard to do that if you don't even know what blues is, or you haven't checked out different types of music, just to be open-minded, because you never know. I mean, Mark was talking about Bill Evans. Bill Evans started to reach into different classical players to sort of like bring that sensibility into jazz. So he wanted to sort of like expand on it in that kind of a way. But no one told him to do that. He just sort of like, he loved a lot of classical music and he was a jazz guy. So he's like, well, how can I bridge that? How can I apply that same? Coltrane did the same thing with his permutations. Like he got into Bartok and, more expressive and experimental type of music in order to adjust and further his style. So that's why I keep telling a lot of, even to this day, like no matter what your level is of how you play or what always try to listen, expand yourself and listen to different things, so that you never know, you might get something from something just by listening to it. It might inspire you or kind of like get your attention to go into that, like what's going on there, what is that, why are they doing that, and that's sort of like the creative spark that I think, instead of just saying, you know, I'm going to take a course and they're going to tell me everything. It's like you need to sort of like figure out what it is you want to gain from it and learn from it, rather than just be like, okay, well, just tell me what it is,
Yeah.
and then I'll do it. You know, it's a little bit more sophisticated than that.
And
Although
learn
that
an
helps.
instrument. These singers, listen, learn an instrument. I feel like, you know, and I can say this for myself, like I told you guys, I was a songwriting major and I switched to professional music and then I switched to music business. And it was because I didn't play an instrument and I was too lazy to pick one up.
Yeah.
But like, just like with these classes, and we were talking about this last week with Greg, you know, we have to come up with some class descriptions. Stay tuned, y'all, because there's gonna be some class descriptions on the website and on our policies and our policies packets, because there has to be certain prerequisites for some of these classes. You can't come in there and you don't even play an instrument and then you call yourself a songwriter. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and there's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, unfortunately, with social media, everyone's trying to front and be something that they're not, and I think that's part of the problem. It's like it's okay to say I don't know, because
Yeah,
that's how you learn.
Yeah.
You know, so instead of saying, well, yeah, I know about that, when you really don't, you're
yeah,
doing yourself damage, actually, because you know you're passing over information that is probably valuable and vital to what you're trying to do, instead of just saying, oh yeah, I know about that, I can do that. My next question is always like, all right, then show me.
right.
You know what I mean? And that's when you really know. But if someone's going to be sort of like fooling themselves, that's like they're self-defeating at that point.
Yeah,
There's no shame in this. This is where we're educating. We're trying to give you information based upon what you need to know. And if you are fronting or pretending or whatever that you know all this stuff, then well, then why are you here? Like, what's going
that's
on
right.
then? You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Learning
was always the
instrument.
opposite of that. I was always like, no, I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Show me. I don't know. I need
Yeah.
to know.
Those are
Yeah.
the students who really succeed, the ones that want to start from like ground zero, even if they do have a little bit of intermediate knowledge. They're
Right.
like, no, take me all the way from square one. And the ones who come in and they're like, oh yeah, well, you know, I don't really need that. I don't know. Well, then why are you here?
Right.
You know?
Well, because some of the classes, there's like an eclectic group of people who have certain levels of knowledge in terms of music and how harmony works. So, you know, if everyone is kind of at this minimum, then you as a teacher, as an instructor, as someone who's trying to shed knowledge from the well and give it to people and make their time efficient, there's a certain basic foundation that I think it's very helpful. So the other students don't have to get kind of held back while you get
Yeah,
someone caught up. So that I think in that regard, yeah, it's beneficial to the person, but also to us that we don't have to kind of slow down our flow on how we're, you know, because sometimes you get in a groove as an instructor and you start showing people things. And I was trying to break down a song the other day and like deconstruct a pop track of something that I had done, and you know, I had everyone's attention, and I knew in that regard, everyone pretty much has a good basic understanding of what's going on when I shared my screen and showed them like a Pro Tools session or whatever it is, because that's what everyone's trying to get to. They're trying to get to that point where they can write in Logic or write in Ableton. And you don't really have to explain a lot about what's going on harmonically, but the instrumentation, there might be one track that's played and it's like, you know, an eighth note every other measure of like a ha or something stupid like that. How does that fit into the rest of the, yeah, by itself it sounds whack, but in context with everything else that's being played, it's adding something of an accent on a vocal pattern or on the hook. So that's you know, pretty much where everyone is, because now technology really is so active in everyone's life. But why is that note happening there at that point? At what point in the measure does it happen? On what chord change is it happening? I think it's important to know that kind of stuff. Some people don't care about that. So, maybe I'm not the right person to instruct them. If you're going to come into a class and you're not going to know anything about harmonic, how like chord changes work, 1 4 5, basic type of like traditional harmony, it's I'm already way past that when people come into the class.
Yeah, definitely.
So you
And
can
you know
get
what?
one-on-one time,
If you already know that stuff too, let's say you already know, like what Mark explained, basic harmony. It's always good to get an insight, even though you already know it, from someone like Mark, to see how he approaches how he uses that system of harmony, because everyone's going to do it differently, right? There's like a basic understanding, and then there's the application of it, and how is that one sound being used, why, like maybe the artist that you're listening to likes to emphasize tensions or the seventh of every chord with one particular crazy sound, and that's kind of like their style. That's what they came up with. So if you understand the basics of harmony, right, and Mark would explain it that way, and then he might say, I wouldn't really do it that way. This is the way I kind of utilize it. Well, then you're just enriching and expanding your already known knowledge of something. And you're saying, oh, wow, it can be used like this. It can be used like that. So everything can be expanded upon. But if you're going to front and say that you know about something and you don't know about it, you're going to get zero out of it in the
Yeah.
end. It's always best to be like, even if you kind of know, to say you don't know, because you never know what you're going to learn from that. It's really important to just be like, well, I think I know, but you tell me how you're looking at it. Maybe it's going to connect with me more, or it's going to change my vision of it and expand it more, so that a major scale is just not an exercise. A major
Sure.
scale is like 99.9% of all music you're hearing,
Tiffany,
something like.
I'm involved in obviously you have so many students in the school, and I'm only dealing with my portion of that, but how many would you say don't play an instrument or come to these classes who, and I'm not talking about the acting and dancing and spoken word stuff that Bless does. I'm talking about people who are voice learning how to sing, or how many don't play an instrument?
Well, the thing about that is that, and I right now, me personally, I have 45 students. At a certain point, I did have 68, but I was able to delegate and put them off of the instructors. Too many students for me.
Right.
So at a certain point, studying with me, when you get to a certain level, I'm like, okay, now we're going to play piano. They don't have an option.
Yeah.
Right.
But if
Good.
they, because if you're going to stay with me, it's years down the road and you have plans and you want to pursue, okay, well then you're not going to continue to have lessons with me and not be able to play an instrument. So honestly, if there are students currently who are not playing an instrument, those are new students who have just registered and joined with TCS.
Good.
And I would say that I probably have about 10 to 15 that
Okay.
don't play an instrument. And should they continue down the path with me, they know I'm gonna have to learn
Eventually.
piano.
Right.
Because I tell them,
Right.
especially because one of the things that I've noticed, and we have some the singers that do not play an instrument have the biggest pitch and intonation problems. And there's like, we had a staff meeting with the vocal instructors. There's 6 of us just last week. And one of the instructors said, "Hey, what do you do for a student who we've been working for months on pitch? I will sit at the piano. I'm doing it. No, you're not." And I said, honestly, if this is like months down the road, they need an instrument ASAP, because
Mhm.
it's like speaking a different language. And people who have intonation problems, it's because they don't speak the language. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Their ear is not
Yeah.
trained. So you can't study with me because me personally, at this point, I mean, I've been doing this now for almost 12 years. I have already paid my dues. A lot of my students that started with me when they were 5 are now they're in college. One of them is 2 of them are in college right now. And I still can't get rid of them. You know? But yeah, at a certain point
No, they have to understand
it
that.
has to happen.
You're right. They got to understand that a note has a finite pitch.
Yes.
It's not like open for interpretation. The note
Yeah.
C is the note C, you know, on a
Yeah.
piano, on a guitar, on a banjo, on a piccolo. Doesn't matter. And it has to be that note. And it has to be, you know, whatever in that, you know.
I've had students come to me and express, and this is how I know there's that gap and that boundary
Disconnect.
between the student who plays an instrument and the student who doesn't. I have had students say to me, "Oh, well, I didn't know that I couldn't write a melody to a track I had to write in a specific using specific notes. I thought I could just sing whatever I want." I say, "No, you can't, because if you notice, you're singing and you're writing in a completely different key of the music. They don't even understand, some of them, what that even is." And at that point, it's like, yeah, it's time to write it.
Yeah, you need a reference point, and an instrument will do that.
Mm-hmm. So they all know, because like Molly, when I told Molly, hey, honey, you're going to have to learn both of the instruments, because Molly came to me, Molly Schmidt. Hey, Molly, Kim, all y'all, I love you guys. She was the youngest of her sisters, who Mark and Greg, you guys haven't met them, but there's more. There was Megan and there was Heather. Molly was the little sister. Molly was about 6 when she started with me. And Heather played guitar, singer, theater, and Megan sang as well. She was the middle sister. Heather is now in nursing school and still studies with me. But when I said to Molly, girl, guess what time it is, girl? You gonna learn, you can pick one. Guitar, piano. And she started with guitar with Keith. And then after that, that's when we delved into, a couple years, just 2 years ago, piano. So, and now because of it, her songwriting has taken off. And every week there's a different song, you know? I know you guys have never seen Noam play piano, but he does. So yeah, it helps.
Yeah, well, you can't harmonize. Your voice can only sing one pitch at a time. That's part of the challenge, right? With singing, is that you can't sing 2 pitches. So it's hard to know.
Unless you're Layla Hathaway.
Why, she can?
Like 2 pitches at once. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. There's some people that can do that.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not the norm, though. Come on.
Right.
Definitely.
You can't teach someone how to do that right off the bat.
Although I thought I heard myself do it the other day, but then I realized.
Well, I'm sure after a while, but the point is that you're like a monochromatic instrument, basically. Like you're just one note at a time, right? And so that's where I think a lot of the problems come in, is when people have to account for other notes or other instruments or other tones to put into the mix. It's like, how does this fit together against what I'm doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. They gotta at least have some kind of reference point, which is
and the thing about it, like, music nowadays is just, oh God, don't even get me started. Like, yo, I didn't even know that some of my students bring in these songs that they've written. I legit did not know. I must live in like freaking stone ages, that you could go and there's accounts where people like sell their songs, their tracks for like $20, and then you can write to it. I'm like, how does that work?
But is that writing a song?
That's right. And they're songwriters.
I mean, if you're playing Guitar Hero solo to Wayward Son, does that mean you're a guitar soloist?
if you sit on the top of a candle that Elon Musk launches you into space and you come back down, does that make you Neil Armstrong?
Yeah. Oh, someone says every TCS concert I've attended, most of the students that perform play an instrument. Yes.
Yeah.
Molly is going places. Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many people, because I'd like to talk about that for a second. How many people are actually going to like be in that concert this year? You have like 30 people? How many 15?
In the live one,
Yeah.
so that is split between the New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts students. So we will probably have about 30 acts, 30 performers. We have a full band. Yay!
Excellent.
It's the same band that we used last year for the Juneteenth festival, that we used for the holiday concert. We'll use them again for the June 25th. We have the pool that day, which is great. And then there's also the 3 virtual concerts. It's so funny to me because I work with like different portions of the instructors and the people and the students and stuff. And it's like, you guys have only seen
Yeah.
small. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
In the 3 different virtual concerts, it's 3 different groups of people. So we've got the 3 virtual concerts that go on June 10th, and then 2 June 12th in the morning and at night, and then the live concert. And total people that show up for that event is between 75 to 100 easily people. It's
Excellent.
it's catered, desserts. We get a nice cake made from Mish. Thank you, Mish, girl. I love you. Mwah, mwah. I have it made all the way in Massachusetts. And it's great. It's an awesome event. And now the students they so bougie now. They're so spoiled because now they're used to performing with a live band. So you'll have people like Noam will be there, Hannah Terry will be there, Molly will be there, Reagan, you haven't even met her yet. Oh my gosh, Reagan Earwood, she'll be there. Paige Schweitzer, you haven't met her. Paige has been with me since her little hands were like this little, playing on the She's like 14 now. It's
Wow.
really crazy. But those Crystal Hasbury, she's then I have the Loop in Boston. You guys have never met them. Those are 2 Black beautiful princesses. They're artists. One of them got a full ride into Berklee College of Music. Go Marcia!
Excellent.
And her father, Issa Bibbins, also went to Berklee College of Music. Great friend of mine. And then Imzaria, TCS's scholarship student, who also got a scholarship to New England. Is it New England Conservatory in New York? Is that what it's called? And also AMDA for after an audition that we sent her to. I did the acting script. I did the choreography. We picked her songs. She flew out to Florida. Yeah, so, I mean, we got people from all over, different walks, different paths. But at some point, they all also have to be a triple threat or a quadruple threat. Because that's the thing that I tell people nowadays. Like when I first started doing this, the original owners of Musical Arts Academy in Exeter, Northampton, and Dover, I mean, they had it great because I was a dancer, right? But I taught ballet, theater, jazz, hip hop, lyrical,
Yeah.
and then could teach the beginner piano. And at that time, I was like, listen, I could teach them Mary Had a Little Lamb, and that's about it. Now,
Right.
it's different,
Right.
I definitely know Mark Delcore, but and then the theater. I mean, so I was doing I was putting those productions on with 60 kids by myself, directing Aladdin, Mary Poppins, The King and I. What else? Annie. And so my niche really became putting those big productions together, which is why the concerts are so exciting.
They
I
are.
would get all dressed up and do their makeup and their hair, and same thing with the virtual shows. I tell them, don't embarrass me. Okay.
Yeah, especially with the virtual shows. The class that I think you had something to do, and I filled in for your class. I told everyone, is everyone performing at the? Said, okay, everyone pick up tempo songs. Like, are you involved in the song selections, or do you leave it up to the artists to pick the song that they're going to perform at the virtual concert?
So I leave it up to us because I want them to pick good songs for their voice. And I
Exactly.
also don't want to put people to sleep on the virtual concert.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear a bunch of ballads back to back.
30 in a row. Yeah.
Absolutely not. And the way that we do the virtual shows is I usually only have about 12 performers per virtual show. And maybe 13, 14, but I try not to have that many because it's boring. I don't care how cute you are and how beautiful you are. Unless you Tiffany Colston, nobody will. I'm just kidding. No, you know what I mean?
I know.
So yeah, but they're great and they're ticketed events. Parents come, and usually we even in the virtual, it's like 75 to 100 people that will come and watch these virtual shows. I make sure to mute folks, have it all set up,
Yep.
and it's good. And then I'm so blessed because people will donate to TCS, which is why we can have people like y'all teaching and doing these workshops. Matthew Finley and Kevin Ross and Jordan Fellis Britt, and you guys, it's an investment. It's an investment
True.
to have top cream of the crop people, and for what they are getting, and for what they're getting for these group classes. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine if I had something like this before going to Berkeley? I would have had, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I had my amazing vocal instructor, Natalie Oliver Atherton, who right now is actually on the road for in the run for Mrs. Colorado. Kudos out to you, Natalie.
Wow.
She started out with
Congratulations.
Mississippi Masala, the movie with Denzel Washington. She's incredible, and I had her. She taught me. I think that. First of all, she was a mentor. She taught me just everything that I needed to know about this. So I mean, I could go on forever, but I won't. So
Well, I think it's helpful that you nurture that, but I try to remind students too that like when we do concerts here, I say when the kids are nervous or whatever, I'm like, you got nothing to be nervous about because you have all the support you would ever need or want in a situation where you're going to perform. You have your parents, whatever, friends, right? No one's going to boo you. No one's going to throw bottles at you. And they're like, what do you mean throw bottles? I'm like, well, throw like a bottle at your head. And they're like, why? That's happened. I'm like, yeah, that's happened. That's happened. Or getting booed or whatever.
yeah.
Right? Now there's an argument to be made that, oh, you don't want to do that to anybody because it's gonna, force them to quit or whatever. But I think it's on Netflix. It's a special about Robert Johnson, the blues guitar player. I think it's on Netflix or Hulu. And it's kind of interesting. He has a similar story like Charlie Parker and some other legendary players had, where they got bullied or harassed or like get out of town kind of deal because they weren't good enough, only to come back a year later and slay everybody. And there's something to be said about that sort of like, I have to make myself the best I can be and not rely upon everyone else. You know what I mean? There's like sort of that inner, because you can be nurtured to a point and then you're kind of like flimsy, at the end of it. And of course, Mark and I have had I so many experiences with this kind of stuff. Tiffany, you and I have had experiences. Don't touch me.
I knew you were gonna
I'm thinking of, right? You're thinking about that too. Hi, how you doing? Congratulations. Don't touch me.
Yep. Oh
nice
God, I'll
nice,
never
nice to
forget
meet
about
you
that.
too. Nice to meet you too. That person ended up locking themselves in the bridal room for the.
But remember what it was is that she didn't want my black makeup on her white dress, which
Yep.
I don't blame you. But
And she also didn't want us to perform the song "We Are Family,"
yes,
which I didn't get that. I didn't get that list.
memo.
The do not
And
play.
you
So I
played
called
it?
it. I called
Yeah,
it.
we played it.
Right. And what happened? What usually happens with that song is that everybody gets up and they love that song. We Are Family, right? You get two
Huh?
sides of two different families coming together. It's a perfect song for a wedding.
Yep.
But she didn't want it. And she threw a fit. Remember, she was like
What?
freaking out. I'm like, is she dancing or is she having like a
She go and lock
conniption?
herself in her room.
Yeah, in the bridal suite at the Four Seasons in
Wait,
Boston. It never
wait.
came out.
This is the bride.
The bride. And never came out. Stayed there for the whole entire wedding.
Because the band played "We Are Family."
Yes.
Yeah, which was my fault because I called it.
And was that the moment when you guys walked up to the groom and said, "The rest your
Good luck.
life,
Good luck.
No, her mother.
the rest of your life."
I remember her mother came up to me and was laughing hysterically and said, "Oh, my daughter, she's such a spoiled brat," and kind of made light of it. And I was like, "Oh God," because then I think I had to call Karen
I can't
to let
remember.
her know it was because I thought they were gonna want like a discount because that's what happens. In
Yeah.
case no one realizes it, you don't do exactly what someone wants; they want their money back,
Right.
all of their money back.
How dare you get them up on the dance
How
floor?
dare you? Yeah.
How dare you?
And I was like, I think it was my last gig before the Britney thing.
It was.
Ray was on it. Ray was singing with you.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh,
I remember because it was like one of Ray's last gigs too, because he was going with Tower of Power.
yes.
And I was in the back with Ray and we were just laughing. I was just like, you know what? I don't care. She can lock herself in her bridal room. That's not an adult. Maybe you need to
No.
go back to adult school or something. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But the mother was like, you got everyone dancing, everyone's having a great time, which the wedding is for everyone else too. That's why you
Yeah.
invite people.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, I had no idea. And it's usually like when you get lists like that, like we've had lists that used to say, we want disco, no Michael Jackson.
That I knew you were gonna say that. And that one right there, no Michael Jackson. I'm not coming. No Tiffany.
Or
Yeah.
no dance music,
Yeah.
or why do you want a band?
What's the other one? No ethnic music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why have a band?
Yeah. Right.
I don't understand, so,
Oh man.
and I get it.
Oh,
They're
wait, hold
paying
up.
for it.
Someone says, during one of these lives, can each of you give a sample of what you and how you do what you do?
Yeah, I think the next time that's a good
Absolutely.
that's a good little syllabus for the next time that we do a live. We'll all kind of, we're not. I see that. So I understand the ask of the person, but we're not like my brother and I are not show offy. So I think that's why I have a tendency to not do what the person's asking, but ask and you shall receive. And sometimes
In the meantime, I think we all have. I mean, you can go to Delcore Music SoundCloud has songs that you can listen to.
There we
that we've done.
go. I'll write that down.
we did-
Delcore Music SoundCloud.
Yeah, we did a song, pop song, which I think would be accessible for everyone, called "Fire," with a singer named Kate. What was her last name? Kate the Great.
Kate the Great.
We did a pop song with her. Plus, we have other instrumental, all kinds of different stuff. We've done movie stuff, but if you want to hear sort of like our own, and I'm sure you have stuff out there too, Tiffany, that they can access if they want to hear you singing or performing something. I mean, to do something on the spot right now is,
Gotcha.
you got to put out the tip jar first.
Yeah, no, I mean, these always go by, even though it's at 59 minutes, it goes by so quick. It's
Yes,
such
it
a,
does.
it's such a pleasure. But yeah, no, for certain, we'll,
We will
Maybe
do
next
that.
time
We
we can all
got
do a
you.
song or something.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Delcore Music SoundCloud Fire by Kate. I will check it out. Yes. All right. I love you guys.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thanks.
And thank you so, so much. And I'm so glad we didn't talk about Will Smith today. Whoop.
And Chris Rock was just in Boston. He just did a show after that whole thing went down. He was at the Wilbur.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
And he's still processing it.
I'm still processing it. My face still hurts.
every day, not to interrupt you, Greg, but every day something new is coming out about something that happened. You don't know what to believe or what.
I know.
You know, they're saying now that LAPD was ready to arrest him. I don't think so. And Chris Rock, I mean, Chris Rock is not the kind of guy that he would not press charges. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
No, but I'm really like, I'm surprised he didn't like when Will Smith turned around and tried to like saunter off the stage. I would have pushed him right off the stage. If that was me and he slapped me, I would have like full force.
I would have jumped on his back, put a jiu-jitsu lock around his neck, and choked him out until he slept.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of disappointing that all this time later, Will Smith is just another asshole. Hate to say it, but
well, there's what turned him into that. The people now are going after her.
And who? Yeah,
Jada.
right.
They're going after Jada, and they're saying like,
"Did you see Jada's reaction?" Oh, I can't.
Yeah,
I can't.
that's
even.
fine. That everyone.
I did.
Everyone can eye roll, but I mean, you're on national TV. I mean, Mark and I we've done TV shows and stuff like that. It's like you're not aware that you're on national TV,
and
wow.
you're at the Oscars.
Yeah.
And you're in the front row. You're not in the second row. You're like downstage center. Like the cameras are always on you the whole night.
So I don't understand the that when he's apologizing, like he was out of control. He didn't look like he was out of control to me.
Who, Will Smith?
Yeah. He like calmly walked up there, smacked him, and then like calmly walked back to his seat. I mean, I know it was an actor and everything.
Yeah, but what gave it is when he sat down. When he sat down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't know that there were people watching.
Oh, they were live to the world at that moment.
Stained.
It is
insane. Yeah, I don't know. I think that is. Listen, anyone who thinks that society, after coming out of a pandemic, and they're locking down Shanghai now, like people are panic buying, and it's like, okay, is that wave coming now? Because that's how it started. It started on that side of the right. Are we looking at that again now? Come fall, like, are we going to go through another 2 years? People snapped.
Mark, we need a second booster. You and me.
Yeah, you know what?
Aren't there like 10 more out now?
10.
10 more boosters.
No. They're saying people 50 and above need a second booster.
A second one.
Yeah.
You know what? I've played nice.
Yeah. Right?
I've played nice thus far. I've done everything that I felt was my civic responsibility as a human being for my fellow human being. I didn't do it for me. I did it for everyone else that I come into contact with. That's just me. I don't expect anyone else to be that way. Society has shown and proven to me that they are not of that same mode of thinking that I am, and that's perfectly fine. I don't care. I do it because I'm trying to respect other people, and especially my parents and people that I come into contact with. But I think there's a lot of other people that need to step up to the table before I go out and start getting myself pricked with shot. I never got a flu shot. My whole life, I never got a flu shot. I never got the flu. So I think I'm good. I think I'm nuked enough right?
You are.
I'm nuked up enough to be able to fight that. If I get it, I get it. If it ain't gonna,
Well, what they're
come,
not
great.
talking about is that for the healthy people, it's a long shot for you to get really, really sick and need to be hospitalized. It's always the people who are overweight,
Yep,
who have health issues, diabetes, you
yep.
know, they've had pre-existing conditions and stuff like
Sure.
that. Those are the people who have to watch out. And I agree, I've done everything right too. But when you got a guy on a ventilator who's taking his last breath to say his last words, which are "it's a hoax" or fake news or whatever he's going to say, and then he dies. I mean, I don't know. You can't fix that kind of stupid, you know? And there's a lot of people out there who are just refusing to accept reality. That's what worries me, is that this thing could have been knocked out
Yeah.
right away if people just kind of like use their brain, you know?
I gotta go.
That's a whole other conversation.
It
Will
is.
Smith and the pandemic and vaccines.
And Taylor Hawkins, Mark.
Well, that's a whole other ball of wax.
I know. We maybe we should wait another week before we go on
The
air.
world
That
just needs
is-
more love.
Yeah,
The whole
Yeah.
legendary thing, I'm having a little bit of an issue with that.
legendary.
One of the best drummers of all time.
Well, you know, and one of the closest human beings, non-family, you know, to me, worked for the Foo Fighters for many years. So, you know, you have a different perspective on things when, you know what I mean? Like when you have people in your life that are close to the situation, you know, I understand. I see a lot of the younger drummers are like, oh, the best drummer ever. And that, you know, relative to their world, it's like the LeBron James argument. LeBron James, the best player. If anyone who ever saw Michael Jordan play basketball, and I was able to watch him play a ton of times, no one's ever done that. Like
No.
relative to where you're from, you know, and some people, Taylor Hawkins is their end all be all drummer. That's great. Listen to John Bonham. I mean, we come from Neil Peart, John Bonham, Bill Bruford, and the list goes on. You know what I mean?
Moon.
Yeah. And Taylor Hawkins, I'm not taking anything from him, but that's definitely a conversation that we can circle back on about
Okay.
whether or not he was the greatest of all time. Thank you again, Tiffany.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate
for
Thank
having
you
us.
again.
Appreciate
I
the
love
forum.
you. All right. I'll see you guys until next week, y'all.
Until
All
the
right.
next time, we'll see you.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.
Be safe.